Welcome back to one more video. Happy Independence Day. Today we'll start with the most important articles of 15th August 2026 from the Hindu newspaper. The first important article was this one.
India helps China evade tariffs, claims US report. Page 1 category, International Relations Economy Trade. Summary. A White House report titled The Great Transshipment Scam has accused India of helping Chinese exporters evade US tariffs by routing goods through India. The report identifies the Pune-Gujarat-Chennai manufacturing belt as one of the regions allegedly facilitating transshipment. It claims Chinese goods undergo limited processing, relabeling, or documentation changes before being exported to the US. The allegation comes amid rising trade tensions, existing US tariffs on India, and proposed penalties linked to India's Russian oil imports. The issue has implications for India-US trade relations and global supply chains. Key highlights. White House report, The Great Transshipment Scam. India listed among 40 jold countries with elevated transshipment risk. Pune, Gujarat, Chennai belt specifically mentioned. Linked to US. Section 301 Tariffs on China. Important for India-US trade and global supply chains. Exam relevance, UPSC GS2 India-US Relations GS3 International Trade, Tariffs, Supply Chains. Though. Government taking steps to make public exams transparent, says Murmu. Page 1 category, Governance Education. Summary. President Draupadi Murmu stated that the government is implementing comprehensive reforms to make public examinations transparent, secure, and trustworthy, with a focus on eliminating paper leaks and unfair practices. She highlighted India's demographic dividend, noting that 65% of the population is below 35 years of age. The president emphasized entrepreneurship, innovation, and the startup ecosystem as drivers of future growth. Her remarks are significant in the context of recent examination irregularities and demands for systemic reforms in recruitment and entrance examinations. Key highlights. Reforms for transparent and secure examinations. Focus on preventing paper leaks. 65% of India's population is under 35. Emphasis on startups and entrepreneurship. Youth identified as India's key demographic asset. Exam relevance, UPSC GS2 Education Governance GS3 Demographic Dividend Essays on Education Reforms.
And next important article was this one.
Reforms. 3. CJI questions BCIS action in Nalsar Row. Page 12 referenced on page 1 category, Judiciary Constitutional Law. Summary. The Chief Justice of India questioned the Bar Council of India's action in the Nalsar-related matter, raising concerns regarding freedom of speech and institutional autonomy. The observations indicate judicial scrutiny of regulatory actions affecting academic institutions and legal education. The case highlights the balance between professional regulation and constitutional freedoms. Key highlights. CJI raised concerns over freedom of speech. Questions on the BCIS regulatory action. Involves Nalsar. Relevant to institutional autonomy. Constitutional implications.
Next important article was, please go through this one. This article.
Census 2027 to collect caste Aadhaar details. Page 14 referenced on page 1 category, Governance Data Census. Summary. The upcoming Census 2027 is expected to collect caste-related information and Aadhaar details, marking an important development in India's population data collection framework. The exercise has implications for welfare targeting, social justice policies, reservation debates, and evidence-based governance. Census methodology and data governance are highly relevant for public policy and administration. Key highlights. Census 2027 to collect caste data. Aadhaar details also proposed. Significant for welfare and social policy. Important for demographic and administrative planning. Major governance and data. Summary. The upcoming Census 2027 is expected to collect caste-related information and Aadhaar details, marking an important development in India's population data collection framework. The exercise has implications for welfare targeting, social justice policies, reservation debates, and evidence-based governance. Census methodology and data governance are highly relevant for public policy and administration. Key highlights. Census 2027 to collect caste data. Aadhaar details also proposed. Significant for welfare and social policy. Important for demographic and administrative planning. Major governance and data policy development.
Next important article was this. Please go to this one.
Proposal to set up data center on Nicobar. Page 14 referenced on page 1 category, Science or Technology Infrastructure. Summary. The Andaman and Nicobar administration has invited feasibility proposals for a private sector-led green AI data center vertical in the Nicobar Islands. The proposal aligns with India's push toward AI infrastructure, green energy integration, and digital infrastructure development. The strategic location of the islands could enhance data connectivity and technological investments in the Indo-Pacific region. Key highlights. Proposal for a green AI data center. Private sector-led infrastructure model. Located in Nicobar Islands. Supports AI and digital infrastructure. Strategic Indo-Pacific significance. Exam relevance.
And next important article was this one.
See stays order striking down jobs for kin of Karur victims. Page 4 referenced on page 1 category, Judiciary Governance. Summary. The Supreme Court stayed the Madras High Court order that had struck down Tamil Nadu government orders granting compassionate government jobs to the family members of the Karur stampede victims. The stay provides interim relief to the state government and keeps the compassionate appointments in force until further hearing. The case concerns judicial review of executive welfare decisions. Key highlights. Supreme Court stayed the High Court judgment. Concerns compassionate appointments. Related to Karur stampede victims. Hearing scheduled for October. Important administrative law issue.
Now, next important article was from this page number 1. This one.
BJP MP apologizes for comments on Netaji amid protests in West Bengal. Page 1 category, Polity National Developments. Summary. Rajya Sabha MP Nagendra Roy Ananta Maharaj apologized for his remarks on Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose after widespread protests and political controversy in West Bengal. The state government initiated legal action against individuals making derogatory comments on Netaji. The episode reflects the political sensitivity surrounding national icons, public discourse, and historical memory in contemporary politics. Key highlights. BJP MP issued a public apology. Remarks concerned Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. Furs and arrests reported in West Bengal. State government withdrew a civilian award. National historical and political significance.
Yeah. Next important article from page number 1 was this one.
Water surge kills 7 in Uttarakhand hydro tunnel. Page 1 category, Environment Disaster Management Infrastructure. Summary. A sudden surge of water and debris entered a hydroelectric tunnel under construction in Chamoli district, Uttarakhand, killing 7 workers and trapping others inside. Rescue operations were complicated by waterlogging and sludge accumulation in the tunnel. The incident highlights the safety challenges associated with Himalayan infrastructure projects and disaster preparedness in ecologically fragile regions. Key highlights. Accident at THDC India Hydro Project in Chamoli. 7 workers killed, several trapped. Tunnel flooded with water and debris. Rescue operations severely constrained. Raises concerns over Himalayan infrastructure safety.
Next important article. These are the only important articles from this page. We'll move on to next page. Page number 2. The first important of this page number 2 city section was this one. Wait a minute.
At Fort turns fortress ahead of 80th Independence Day. Page 2 category, Internal Security, Security Infrastructure.
Summary. Delhi has implemented a massive security arrangement for the 80th Independence Day celebrations at Red Fort. The security grid includes 450 surveillance cameras, upgraded anti-drone systems, and over 3,000 security personnel. Authorities have screened nearly 20,000 residents in nearby areas and strengthened aerial surveillance capabilities. Multiple bomb threat emails were received at sensitive locations, including the Delhi High Court Anegi Airport, but were declared hoaxes after thorough searches. The article highlights evolving urban security and anti-drone preparedness. Key highlights: 450 camera surveillance grid deployed around Red Fort. Enhanced anti-drone detection and marking systems. Over 3,000 security personnel deployed. 20,000 nearby residents screened. Bomb threats investigated and declared hoaxes.
Next important article from this page number 2 was this one.
DDA proposes higher FAR for slum revamp in 2047 master plan. Page 2 category, Urban Governance, Housing Policy. Summary. The Delhi Development Authority has proposed significant amendments in the master plan for Delhi 2047, including increasing the floor area ratio FAR for in situ slum rehabilitation projects. The rehabilitation FAR is proposed to rise from 400 to 500, and the remunerative component from 300 to 500. The plan projects Delhi's population to reach 3.2 crore by 2047 and identifies 350 square kilometers as future urbanizable area. It also proposes mixed-use commercial development, a 24-hour city concept, and a transferable development rights framework. Key highlights: higher FAR for in situ slum rehabilitation. Delhi population projected at 3.2 crore by 2047. 350 वर्ग किलोमीटर future urbanizable area identified. Mixed-use commercial streets proposed. Introduction of 24-hour city and TDR framework.
And next important article was, please go through these articles. These are very important one. This one.
Zoya Hassan's lecture on pluralism cancelled over security concerns. Page 2 category, Polity Freedom of Speech. Summary. A scheduled Independence Day lecture by JNU Professor Emeritus Zoya Hassan on why pluralism is important at Sardar Patel Vidyalaya was cancelled shortly before the event due to reported security concerns. The incident triggered debate over freedom of expression, academic autonomy, and the role of public authorities in ensuring lawful assemblies. Academics criticized the cancellation, while police stated they found no evidence of any protest at the venue. Key highlights: lecture on pluralism cancelled at the last minute. Debate over freedom of speech and academic freedom. Questions regarding security-based restrictions. Police said no evidence of protest was found. Significant constitutional and governance dimension.
This was about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page for this one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights of this article.
4. VP, recalling partition not to open old wounds. Page 2 category, Polity National Integration. Summary. Vice President CP. Radhakrishnan said that observing Partition Horrors Remembrance Day is intended not to reopen historical wounds but to promote greater harmony and national reconciliation. He emphasized that the suffering endured during partition should serve as a reminder to prevent such tragedies in the future. The remarks are relevant to discussions on national integration, collective memory, and constitutional values. Key highlights. Remarks made on Partition Horrors Remembrance Day. Emphasis on harmony and reconciliation. Historical memory linked to national unity. Recognition of partition survivors' suffering. Message focused on preventing future divisions.
Next important article. And these are the only important articles from this page. Next, to move on to next page. That is page number 3, state section. The first important article of this page was this one.
Farmers in Haryana block toll plazas over dairy workers' murder. Page 3 category, social issues, law or order governance. Summary. Farmer unions and Khap panchayats blocked toll plazas across Haryana demanding the arrest of the man accused in the murder of dairy worker Jeevan Kundu. Protests were reported at multiple toll plazas, and supporters of the victim refused to perform the last rites until all accused were arrested. The agitation reflects the mobilization capacity of farmer organizations and raises issues related to criminal justice, law enforcement, and public protest. Key highlights. Toll blockades reported across Haryana. Demand for immediate arrest of the man accused. Victim's family refused last rites pending arrests. Farmer unions and Khap panchayats led the protests. Protest linked to law and order and justice concerns.
This was about this article. Move on to next important article of this page. Of this one. Do listen the summary and key highlights of this article.
RG. Kar case eggs, marked bricks thrown at ex-TMC MLA outside police station. Page 3 category, judiciary, law or order. Summary. Former Trinamool Congress MLA Nirmal Ghosh was attacked by a mob outside a police station after being arrested in connection with the alleged hurried cremation linked to the RG. Kar Medical College Rape and Murder Case 2024. The incident raised concerns about mob violence, due process, and the protection of accused persons in custody. Political leaders across parties reacted to the attack, with questions raised about the police's responsibility to ensure legal procedures are followed. Key highlights. Ex-TMC MLA arrested in connection with the RG. Kar case. Mob attack occurred outside a police station. Sent to 8-day police custody. Debate over due process and police protection. Highlights challenges of mob justice and rule of law.
And next important article was this one.
UP government job aspirants plan protest over delay in result. Page 3 category, governance public recruitment. Summary. Candidates for the village panchayat officer VPO examination announced an indefinite protest over delays in the release of the final merit list by the Uttar Pradesh Subordinate Service Selection Commission. Aspirants argued that the prolonged delay was affecting their careers and livelihoods. The issue reflects broader concerns regarding recruitment transparency, examination administration, and timely completion of public recruitment processes. Key highlights. VPO aspirants announced an indefinite protest. Delay in the final merit list for about 3 months. Protest planned outside the Recruitment Commission. Supported by a government job aspirants organization. Raises concerns over recruitment efficiency and transparency. Exam relevance, UPSC GS2 governance, recruitment reforms, SSC and State PSC preparation context. Articles excluded not required for competitive exams. Girl killed in Delhi bus accident, local accident.
And next important article. These are the only important articles from this page. We'll move on to next page. Wait a minute.
Stays order striking down job.
The first important article of this page was this one.
For families of Karur stampede victims. Page 4 category Judiciary Governance. Summary. The Supreme Court stayed the Madras High Court judgment that had quashed the Tamil Nadu government's decision to provide government jobs on compassionate grounds to the families of the Karur stampede victims. The court observed that governments may provide relief to families that lose their breadwinners in major tragedies. The state relied on Article 162, which deals with the executive power of the state, to justify the policy. The case raises important questions about compassionate appointments, executive discretion, equality, and administrative law. Key highlights. Supreme Court stayed the Madras High Court order. Tamil Nadu invoked Article 162. Debate over compassionate appointments. Equality and due process concerns raised. Hearing scheduled for October. Exam relevant.
And next important article was this one.
BJD seeks special House session to oppose Mines Bill. Page 4 category Federalism, Economy, Natural Resources. Summary. BJD President Navin Patnaik demanded a special session of the Odisha Assembly to oppose the Mines and Minerals, Development and Regulation, Amendment Bill, 2026. He argued that the bill undermines Odisha's fiscal autonomy and weakens states' powers over mineral taxation and resource governance. Similar concerns were expressed by the Jharkhand government. The controversy centers on center-state relations, fiscal federalism, and control over mineral resources. Key highlights.
Opposition to the MMDR Amendment Bill, 2026. Concern over the state fiscal autonomy. Debate on mineral taxation powers. Link to cooperative federalism. Significant for mineral-rich states.
Third important article of this page. This one.
Nagaland church body opposes order to sing Vande Mataram at Independence Day events. Page 4 category Polity Fundamental Rights. Summary. The Nagaland Baptist Church Council, NBCC, opposed the directive requiring the singing of the revised version of Vande Mataram during Independence Day events. The church body argued that patriotism should arise from voluntary participation
rather than compulsion, and emphasized the protection of freedom of conscience and religious beliefs. It also urged all stakeholders to maintain communal harmony and avoid social divisions. Key highlights. NBCC opposed compulsory singing of Vande Mataram. Emphasis on freedom of conscience. Links patriotism with voluntary participation. Calls for communal harmony. Constitutional and rights-based dimension.
And next important article of this page, this one.
HC orders probe into police excesses on tribal villagers resisting mining in Odisha. Page 4 category Environment, Tribal Rights, Judiciary. Summary. The Orissa High Court directed the Rayagada District Administration to submit a report regarding alleged police excesses against tribal villagers protesting a bauxite mining project near Sejmali Hill. Villagers argued that mining would damage water sources, ecology, and livelihoods. The petition alleged illegal house raids, arrests, and violations of the DK Basu guidelines on arrest procedures. The case combines environmental protection, tribal rights, policing standards, and judicial oversight. Key highlights. High Court ordered an inquiry into police action. Villagers opposed a bauxite mining project. Alleged violation of DK Basu guidelines. Concerns over ecology, water sources, and livelihoods. Involves tribal rights and environmental governance.
Next important article. What's this one?
Former test student gets protection from arrest. Page 4 category Judiciary Civil Liberties. Summary. The Bombay High Court granted interim protection from arrest to a former test student accused of raising slogans during a campus event related to jailed activists. The court provided temporary protection while hearing the anticipatory bail plea. The case is relevant to debates on freedom of expression, campus dissent, criminal law, and anticipatory bail jurisprudence. Key highlights. Bombay High Court granted interim protection. Matter concerns anticipatory bail. Linked to campus protest slogans. Raises civil liberties and free speech issues. Hearing scheduled for a later date.
Wait a minute. And next important article of this page was this one. Do listen the summary and key highlights.
Ending quota. J&KCM cautions against Gen Z-like agitation. Page 4 category Governance Federalism. Summary. Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah warned that delays in finalizing the cabinet report on the reservation policy could trigger youth-led protests. He criticized the delay in processing the report and also described the Indus Waters Treaty, IWT, as discriminatory toward Jammu and Kashmir, arguing that the region should have greater freedom to utilize its river waters for drinking, irrigation, navigation, and power generation. Key highlights. Concern over delay in the reservation policy decision. Warning of possible youth protests. Warning of possible youth 1. Mines bill encroaches on state rights, Kerala CM.
And next important article. And these are the only important articles of this page. We move on to next page. The first important article of page number 8 state section was this one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights of this article.
Mines bill encroaches on state rights, Kerala CM. Page 8 category, Federalism Economy Natural Resources. Summary. The Kerala government and the opposition have strongly opposed the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation (MMDR) Amendment Bill 2026, arguing that it violates the federal structure of the Constitution. The bill seeks to restrict the powers of states to levy taxes, cess, and other charges on mineral rights and mineral-bearing lands. Chief Minister V.D. Sathiesan stated that the government would oppose the law politically and legally if required. Leader of the opposition Pinarayi Vijayan argued that land and taxation on land fall under the state list, entry 18 of the 7th schedule, and that the amendment undermines states' fiscal and legislative autonomy. Key highlights. Kerala government and opposition jointly opposed the MMDR Amendment Bill. Bill restricts states' taxation powers over mineral resources. Debate centered on federalism and fiscal autonomy. Reference to entry 18 of the state list. Significant implications for mineral-rich states.
And next important article. Of this page was this one. This one. Do listen the summary and key highlights of this article.
I drama at Sathiesan's MLA office amid DYFI stir. Page 8 category, Governance Political Accountability. Summary. Protests erupted outside Kerala Chief Minister V.D. Sathiesan's MLA office after the DYFI alleged links between arrested Youth Congress activists involved in a synthetic drug peddling case and the Chief Minister's office. Police used water cannons to disperse protesters after they refused to retreat from barricades. The controversy has generated debate over political accountability, law enforcement, and the handling of allegations involving individuals connected. Handling of allegations involving individuals connected to political offices. Key highlights. DYFI protested outside the Chief Minister's MLA office. Allegations related to a synthetic drug peddling case. Police used water cannons to disperse protesters. Raises issues of political accountability and governance. Reflects tensions between ruling and opposition groups.
Next important articles. And these are the only two important articles from this page. Now move on to next page. Editorial section. The first important article. What is this one? House in disorder. This article. Listen the summary and key highlights of this article now.
House in disorder. Page 10. Editorial. Category. Polity Parliament Federalism. Summary. The editorial critiques the functioning of the recent Parliament session, arguing that major legislation was passed with inadequate deliberation. It highlights concerns over the MMDR Amendment Bill, compulsory singing of Vande Mataram at state functions, examination reforms, and the proposed changes related to delimitation and FCRA. The editorial stresses that Parliament should function as a forum for consultation and consensus rather than political confrontation. It calls for broader engagement with states and political parties on issues affecting federalism and democratic institutions. Key highlights. Concerns over hurried lawmaking. MMDR Amendment Bill may affect federalism. Need for wider consultation on delimitation. FCRA amendments to be examined by a joint parliamentary committee. Parliament should promote deliberative democracy.
And next important article. What's this one? Please do listen the summary and key highlights of this important article. Now,
Internet Unbound. Page 10. Editorial. Category. Governance, Digital Rights, Freedom of Expression. Summary. The editorial warns against increasing government pressure on social media platforms to remove political content. It discusses the use of Section 79(3)(b) of the Information Technology Act, 2000, under which platforms receive notices regarding allegedly illegal content. The editorial argues that excessive content takedowns could undermine freedom of expression, digital democracy, and public debate. It cautions against creating a tightly controlled digital ecosystem and emphasizes the importance of online political participation. Key highlights: government scrutiny of Meta, Facebook, and Instagram. Importance of freedom of speech online. Role of Section 79(3)(b) IT Act. Concerns about censorship and platform compliance. Social media as a democratic public sphere.
And next important article was this one. India at 80. A democracy in search of renewal. This one. To listen the summary, category, and key highlights of this article now.
India at 80, a democracy in search of renewal. Page 10, lead editorial opinion, category, polity constitution democracy. Summary. The article examines the condition of India's democracy after 80 years of independence. It discusses challenges such as erosion of fraternity, communal polarization, centralization of power, weakened parliamentary deliberation, concerns about judicial functioning, electoral integrity, and center-state relations. The author argues that democracy requires not only elections but also constitutional morality, institutional accountability, citizen participation, and protection of civil liberties. The piece is especially important for essays and constitutional governance questions. Key highlights: democracy requires justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Concerns over institutional accountability. Discussion of the judiciary, parliament, and the election commission. Importance of constitutional morality. Citizen participation is essential for democratic renewal.
Next important article was this one. Do listen the summary and key highlights of this article. These are the editorial section.
Financial democracy, the Jan Dhan transformation. Page 10, opinion, category, economy, financial inclusion, governance. Summary. The article analyzes the impact of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, PMJDY, after 12 years of implementation. It argues that Jan Dhan significantly expanded financial inclusion, particularly for women and rural households, and became the foundation of the Jan Dhan Aadhaar mobile architecture. The article highlights the role of PMJDY in enabling direct benefit transfers, DBT, and integrating citizens into India's digital financial ecosystem. Key highlights: PMJDY has crossed 58 crore accounts. Deposits exceed 3 lakh crore. Majority of accounts are held by women and rural households. Foundation of the JAM Trinity. Enabled large-scale DBT and digital financial inclusion.
With this, we end the editorial section. Now we move on to next page. Ground zero, page number 11 section. The important article of this page was this one. Do listen the summary and key highlights of this article. Now,
Deflating the wine in the willows. Page 11, Ground Zero, Category, Economy, Agriculture, Environment, Regional Industry. Summary. The article examines Kashmir's ₹700 crore cricket bat industry, which supports around 50,000 livelihoods and has gained international recognition after 47 international players used Kashmir willow bats in major tournaments. The industry has expanded significantly since 2021, but now faces serious challenges including shortage of quality willow timber, climate change, wetland degradation, and smuggling of willow clefts. The Jammu and Kashmir government has launched a willow plantation program to revive raw material availability and increase production. The GI tag granted in 2025 is expected to improve branding, exports, and value addition. Key highlights. Industry value, 700 rupees crore. Supports 50,000 livelihoods. 195 registered bat manufacturers and around 150 cleft dealers. J&K plans to plant 2.2 lakh willow trees across 200 hectares. GI tag received in 2025 for Kashmir willow bats.
this is the only important article of this page. Now, we move on to next article. Before this, those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. The first important article on this page was this one. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Now listen the summary and key highlights of this article now.
CJI criticizes BCI's interference in dialogue between him and students. Page 12, Category, Judiciary, Constitutional Rights. Summary. The Supreme Court criticized the Bar Council of India, BCI, for attempting to prevent the enrollment of NULS's 2026 graduating batch and held that the right to pursue a profession cannot be threatened for expressing dissent. The court restrained the BCI from taking coercive action against students, faculty, and administrators and sought an affidavit explaining its actions. The controversy arose after students objected to the Chief Justice's participation in their convocation. The judgment has significant implications for freedom of speech, professional rights, and the limits of statutory regulatory bodies. Key highlights. Supreme Court protected students' right to dissent. BCI restrained from taking coercive action. Right to profession linked with Article 19 freedoms. Court questioned BCI's jurisdiction over students. Important precedent for institutional autonomy.
Next important article of this page or this one. Do listen the summary now.
And BCI halt enrollment of an entire graduating batch. Explainer. Page 12, Category, Judiciary Legal Framework. Summary. The explainer examines whether the BCI has legal authority to stop enrollment of an entire graduating batch. It explains that under the Advocates Act, 1961, enrollment is primarily the function of state bar councils, while the BCI exercises supervisory powers. The article discusses sections 6, 7, 24, 248 and 48B of the Advocates Act and cites the Supreme Court judgment in Indian Council of Legal Aid and Advice v. Bar Council of India, 1995, which limited the BCI's ability to create additional disqualifications for enrollment. Key highlights: enrollment primarily handled by state bar councils. BCI has supervisory, not unlimited disciplinary, powers. Advocates Act provisions discussed. 1995 Supreme Court precedent highlighted. Important distinction between statutory authority and executive action.
Next important article of this page was this one. Do listen the summary and key highlights of this article. If you are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button.
2 villagers killed in Manipur in attack by Kuki extremists. Page 12 category Internal Security Northeast. Summary: violence returned to Manipur's Kangapokpi district after alleged Kuki extremist groups attacked a Liangmai Naga village, killing 2 villagers and injuring others. The report mentions the alleged involvement of groups operating under the Suspension of Operations (SU) agreements signed with the center in 2008. The incident underscores the continuing ethnic tensions in Manipur and the challenges of insurgency management and peace processes in the northeast. Key highlights: attack in Kangapokpi district, Manipur. 2 villagers killed. Alleged involvement of Kuki armed groups. SU agreement context mentioned. Highlights ethnic and insurgency related tensions.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page, of this one. Please go through this article and listen the summary and key highlights.
Gov announces gallantry service awards for armed forces, CAPF, CBI. Page 12 category Defense Internal Security. Summary: the President approved 78 gallantry awards for personnel of the armed forces and CAPFs, including Kirti Chakra, Shaurya Chakra, Sena medals, Nao Sena medals, and Vayu Sena medals. In addition, 1,057 police personnel across the country will receive gallantry and service medals. The awards recognize distinguished service in counter-terror operations in Jammu and Kashmir and anti-insurgency operations in Manipur. Key highlights: 78 gallantry awards announced. Includes 9 Kirti Chakras and 19 Shaurya Chakras. 1,057 police personnel to receive medals. CRPF received the highest number among CAPFs. Linked to J&K and Manipur operations.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page, which was this one. Do listen it now.
India helps China evade tariffs, claims US report. Page 12 category International Relations Economy. Summary: the continuation of the report explains the alleged mechanism of tariff arbitrage, whereby Chinese goods are routed through countries with lower US tariff rates before entering the American market. The report claims that India is in the top tier of countries with elevated transshipment risk and estimates that $67 billion worth of US-bound goods were transshipped through major hubs. The issue is important for India U.S. trade relations and global manufacturing supply chains. Key highlights. Focus on tariff arbitrage. India listed among Tier 1 transshipment hubs. Estimated $67 billion in transshipped goods. Concerns over trade diversion and supply chains. Significant for trade diplomacy.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Now we move on to next important article on this page, or this one. Do listen now.
Water surge kills 7 in Uttarakhand tunnel. Continued. Page 12 category Disaster Management Infrastructure. Summary. The continuation of the Chamoli tunnel tragedy details the rescue operations involving NDRF, SDRF, ITBP, Army, CISF, and local authorities. The article raises concerns about worker safety, environmental safeguards, and construction practices in Himalayan infrastructure projects. The incident has renewed debate over disaster preparedness and accountability in large hydroelectric and tunnel construction projects. Key highlights. Multi-agency rescue operation. Tunnel built by Hindustan Construction Company. Concerns over worker safety standards. Environmental safeguards questioned. Important Himalayan infrastructure case study.
Now this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Yeah, these are the only important articles from this page. Now we move on to next page, that is page number 13, news section. The first important article of this page was this one. This one. Do listen the summary and key highlights of this article now.
See quashes case against Rahul over Savarkar remarks. Page 13 category Judiciary Criminal Procedure. Summary. The Supreme Court quashed a hate speech case against Rahul Gandhi over his alleged remarks on V.D. Savarkar, holding that prosecution could not proceed without the mandatory government sanction under Section 196 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, CRPC. The court observed that in the absence of sanction, the complaint and the summons issued by the magistrate could not survive. The judgment reinforces procedural safeguards in criminal prosecutions involving offences related to promoting disharmony and insulting religious beliefs. Key highlights. Supreme Court quashed the complaint and summons. Section 196 CRPC requires prior government sanction. Reinforces procedural safeguards in criminal law. Court emphasized that sanction is a prerequisite for cognizance. Important precedent on criminal procedure.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. this one. Do listen the summary and key highlights of this article.
Pagewise slams center over Chinese activity in Arunachal Pradesh. Page 13 category International Relations Border Security. Summary. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge questioned the government over reports of increased Chinese activity in Arunachal Pradesh, including alleged PLA presence near Tuxing and concerns regarding access to patrolling point Shera 5. He also sought clarification on the status of India-China disengagement in eastern Ladakh and whether the pre-May 2020 status quo had been restored. The issue highlights the strategic importance of border infrastructure, patrolling rights, and India-China military dynamics. Key highlights. Questions raised over PLA activity in Arunachal Pradesh. Concerns about patrolling access and border presence. Linked to the post-2020 India-China border situation. Raises issues of border security and military preparedness. Important for India-China relations.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Please go through this articles once. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Or this one. Do listen the summary and key highlights.
Citizens urge CJI to uphold liberty of Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam. Page 13 category Judiciary Fundamental Rights. Summary. A group of public intellectuals appealed to the Chief Justice of India regarding the prolonged incarceration of Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam, both accused in the 2020 Delhi riots conspiracy case. The letter invoked the Supreme Court's judgment in Union of India v. K.A. Najib, 2021, which recognized that prolonged incarceration without a likely conclusion of trial may violate the right to a speedy trial under Article 21. The issue is significant for debates on UAPA, bail jurisprudence, and personal liberty. Key highlights. Focus on Article 21 and speedy trial. Relies on K.A. Najib, 2021, precedent. Concerns prolonged incarceration under UAPA. Raises issues of bail and personal liberty. Important constitutional rights debate.
This is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article. This one.
PM praises resilience of those affected by partition. Page 13 category Modern History National Integration. Summary. The Prime Minister paid tribute to those affected by partition, emphasizing their resilience, contribution to national development, and the importance of preserving harmony and brotherhood. The article also references Partition Horrors Remembrance Day and historical memory related to the partition of India. The topic is relevant for understanding post-independence social integration and the legacy of partition. Key highlights. Observance of Partition Horrors Remembrance Day. Emphasis on resilience and national contribution. Calls for harmony and social unity. References displacement and partition trauma. Relevant to modern Indian history.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Please go through this one. These are very important articles. Now we move on to next important article on this page. Was this one? Please do listen to the summary and key highlights.
Rahul asked to respond to notice by August 28. Page 13 category Parliamentary Procedure Legislative Privileges. Summary. The Lok Sabha Committee of Privileges issued a notice to Rahul Gandhi on a breach of privilege complaint filed by BJP MP Anurag Thakur. The notice relates to alleged unparliamentary language and allegations made during debate on the Public Examination, Prevention of Unfair Means, Amendment Bill, 2026. The matter highlights the functioning of parliamentary privilege mechanisms and legislative discipline. Key highlights. Notice issued by the Lok Sabha Committee of Privileges. Complaint concerns parliamentary conduct. Linked to debate on the Public Examination Amendment Bill. Involves Rules 352 and 353 of Lok Sabha Procedure. Important for understanding parliamentary privileges.
Yeah. Now we move on to next important article. On this page. Please go through these articles. Wait a minute. Yeah, these are the only important articles from this page. Now we move on to next page, that is page number 14, new section. Before this, those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Please give your support. Thank you. The first important article of this page was this one. Now do listen the summary and key highlights of this article and do make notes for your exams.
Center notifies 40 questions for second phase of Census 2027. Page 14 category Governance Census Data Collection. Summary. The Union Government has notified 40 questions for the population enumeration phase of Census 2027, marking the first caste enumeration in an official census since 1931, apart from SCs and STs. The questionnaire expands significantly beyond the 2011 census by including caste, parents' details, digital literacy, Aadhaar, voter ID, bank accounts, passport, driving license, mobile number, and COVID-19 vaccination details. The article also highlights the open column method for caste recording and the phased schedule for enumeration beginning in Ladakh and snowbound areas. Key highlights. 40 question census schedule notified. First caste enumeration since 1931. Includes Aadhaar, voter ID, bank accounts, and digital literacy. Open column caste recording methodology. Self-enumeration option available.
Yeah, this is what about this article. This is a very important article. Please go through this one. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Pause this one. Do listen the key highlights and summary of this article.
Island administration looking at data center project on Nicobar. Page 14 category Science and Technology Environment Infrastructure. Summary. The Andaman and Nicobar administration has invited feasibility proposals for a private sector-led Green Eye data center project in Great Nicobar and Little Andaman. The proposal is linked to renewable energy-powered data centers using seawater-based cooling systems and comes alongside the proposed ₹91,000 crore Great Nicobar infrastructure project. The article highlights concerns regarding tribal communities, biodiversity, wildlife corridors, and coastal development planning. Key highlights. Proposal for Green Eye data center infrastructure. Renewable energy and seawater cooling focus. Linked to Great Nicobar development plans. Tribal and environmental concerns highlighted. Important strategic and digital infrastructure project.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now move on to next important article of this page. Or this one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights.
Air India plane hit by flight control issues, says Airbus. Page 14 category Aviation Safety Technology. Summary. A preliminary Airbus analysis of an Air India Phuket Delhi flight incident found hydraulic and flight control abnormalities that caused a sudden 300-foot altitude drop. The aircraft temporarily lost hydraulic-powered control surfaces, leading to autopilot disconnection before systems recovered. The incident has been categorized as serious by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, AIB, and raises important issues of aviation safety, aircraft systems redundancy, and accident investigation. Key highlights. Hydraulic and flight control failures recorded. Aircraft experienced a 300-foot drop. Autopilot disconnected during the incident. AIB classified the event as serious. Highlights aviation safety and investigation procedures.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Please go through this one. Now we move on to next important article of this page. This one. Do listen about this article now.
Basoya, a drug kingpin, brought back from the UAE. Page 14 category Internal Security International Cooperation. Summary. The Narcotics Control Bureau, NCB, brought back alleged drug trafficking operative Virender Singh Basoya from the United Arab Emirates under Operation Global Hunt. The extradition followed an Interpol red notice and reflects increasing international cooperation in combating transnational organized crime and narcotics trafficking networks. Key highlights. NCB secured Basoya's return from the UAE. Action followed an Interpol red notice. Part of Operation Global Hunt. Focus on transnational drug trafficking networks. Demonstrates international law enforcement cooperation.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Please go through this one. Next, we move on to next important article. Or this one. Do listen the summary and key highlights now.
Gov removes 12-minute ad duration cap for TV channels. Page 14 Category Economy Media Regulation. Summary. The government has removed the 12-minute advertisement cap for television channels, arguing that the restriction created an uneven playing field between traditional television and digital media. The move is intended to improve ease of doing business and enhance competition within the broadcasting sector. Key highlights: 12-minute ad cap removed. Seeks parity between TV and digital media. Aims to improve ease of doing business. Broadcasting sector deregulation measure. Important media policy reform.
Yeah, this is what about this article. This is important article. Please go through this one. Now we move on to next important article. Or this one. Do listen now.
See Quash's case against Samar Raina and others. Page 14 Category Judiciary Freedom of Expression. Summary. The Supreme Court quashed criminal proceedings against Samar Raina and 4 others over remarks concerning persons with disabilities made on the show India's Got Latent. The court noted their efforts in promoting awareness and supporting persons with disabilities through initiatives such as a chess tournament for differently abled persons. The decision has relevance for freedom of expression and criminal prosecution standards. Key highlights: Supreme Court quashed the first case related to remarks about persons with disabilities. Court considered subsequent public interest initiatives. Raises issues of free speech and proportionality. Relevant to disability rights discourse.
Yeah. This is what about this article. Now move on to next important articles. Of this page. Those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. We'll move on to next important articles on this page. Wait a minute. Yeah, these are the only important articles from this page. Now we move on to page number 15, business section. The first important article of this page was this one. This one, please go through this one. Listen the summary and key highlights.
States turn to solar soaps to cut loss via subsidized power. Page 15 Category Economy Energy Government Schemes. Summary. Several states, including Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, and Bihar are providing additional financial support for rooftop solar installations under the Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Mukta Bijli Yojana. The objective is to reduce recurring expenditure on electricity subsidies by converting it into one-time capital expenditure for rooftop solar systems through the utility-led aggregation (ULA) model. The scheme aims to install rooftop solar in 1 crore households by March 2027, with 52 lakh installations already completed. Key highlights: PM Surya Ghar aims for 1 crore rooftop solar installations. 52 lakh households have already installed systems. States are using the ULA model to reduce subsidy burdens. Supports distributed renewable energy expansion. Important for power sector reforms and fiscal sustainability.
Yeah, this is very important article. Please go through this one and make note about important points. Now we move on to next important article of this page was this one. Do listen the key highlights and summary.
RIL, Rolls-Royce JV to develop next generation combat engine. Page 15 category, Defense Science and Technology Manufacturing. Summary. Reliance Industries and Rolls-Royce announced a strategic collaboration to develop an indigenous combat engine for India's Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft (AMCA) program. The partnership proposes a dedicated aerospace gas turbine complex in India and aims to strengthen domestic capabilities in propulsion technology and defense manufacturing. The development aligns with the Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives in the defense sector. Key highlights: indigenous engine for the AMCA program. Collaboration with Rolls-Royce. Aerospace gas turbine complex proposed in India. Boost to defense manufacturing and technology. Significant for strategic autonomy.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Please go through this one. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Next important article was this one. This one. Do listen the summary and key highlights.
Green bonds find footing as stable. Greenium shows investor appetite. Page 15 category, Economy Financial Markets Sustainable Finance. Summary. India sold 50 rupees billion of 30-year sovereign green bonds, and investors accepted a greenium of 4 basis points, indicating strong demand for environmentally linked government securities. Outstanding sovereign green bonds have reached 877 rupees billion, $9.2 billion. Insurance companies are emerging as major investors because green bonds qualify under infrastructure investment categories. Key highlights: 50 rupees billion sovereign green bond issuance. Greenium of 4 basis points. Outstanding sovereign green bonds, 877 rupees billion. Strong demand from insurance companies. Supports sustainable finance and climate investments.
Yeah, this is the important article. Please make note of it and do read this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. this one. Now to listen the summary and key highlights.
Coal demand to touch 1.6 billion ton by 2030, says official. Page 15 category, Economy Energy. Summary. The Coal Secretary stated that India's coal demand is projected to reach 1.6 billion tons annually by 2030. Domestic coal production has already crossed 1 billion tons in each of the last 2 financial years. The government plans to operationalize a coal exchange to improve transparent and market-driven price discovery. Key highlights. Coal demand projected at 1.6 billion tons by 2030. Domestic production has exceeded 1 billion tons. Coal exchange plan for transparent pricing. Shift from scarcity to a more competitive market. Important energy sector reform.
Yeah, this is what about this article, and this is important article. Please go to this article once. Now we move on to next important article. What's this one? Now to listen the summary of this article.
WPI inflation eases to 9.78% in July on cheaper fuel. Page 15 category, Economy Inflation. Summary. Wholesale Price Index, WPI, inflation moderated to 9.78% in July from 9.87% in June, primarily because of lower fuel and food prices. This was the first month-on-month decline in WPI inflation since October 2025, although inflation in primary articles and manufactured products remained elevated. Key highlights. WPI inflation eased to 9.78%. Decline driven by fuel and food prices. First month-on-month moderation in 9 months. Manufactured products inflation remained firm. Important inflation indicator.
Yeah, now we move on to next important article. Please go through this article once. Now the next important article of this page was this one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights.
Foreign exchange kitty jumps $14.14 billion to $707 billion. Page 15, in brief, category, Economy External Sector. Summary. India's foreign exchange reserves increased by $14.136 billion to $707.002 billion during the week ended August 7. The reserves had previously reached an all-time high of $728.494 billion before declining during the Middle East crisis. Key highlights. Forex reserves rose to $707.002 billion. Increase of $14.136 billion in 1 week. Earlier peak, $728.494 billion. Strengthens external sector resilience. Important for exchange rate stability.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article. The next important article of this page was this one. Please go through this one.
current account deficit widened to $6.2 billion in June. Page 15. In brief, category, economy balance of payments. Summary. India's current account deficit, CAD, widened to $6.2 billion in June from a surplus of $1.2 billion a year earlier. The deterioration was mainly due to a wider merchandise trade deficit, as imports increased faster than exports. Key highlights. CAD widened to $6.2 billion. Merchandise trade deficit increased to $30.2 billion. Exports rose, but imports grew faster. Important balance of payments indicator. Relevant for external sector analysis.
This is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. This one. Do listen the summary of this one.
Curbs on trust may delay the process to pick Tata Sons chief. Page 15. Category, corporate governance economy. Summary. Restrictions imposed on Sir Ratan Tata Trust may delay the formation of the selection committee for appointing the next Tata Sons chairman. Under the Tata Sons Articles of Association, the Sir Ratan Tata Trust and Sir Dorab Tata Trust jointly nominate members to the committee. The issue highlights corporate governance, trust regulation, and ownership structures in large business groups. Key highlights. Regulatory restrictions affecting Tata Sons succession. Trust governance issues involved. Selection committee formation delayed. Significant corporate governance development. Relevant for business and regulatory studies.
This is what about this article. Please go through these articles. Now we move on to next important articles of this page. Before this, those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. I think these are the only important articles from this page. Now we move on to page number 16, world section. The first important article of this page was this one. This one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights of this article now.
Lower oil prices, not Iran's nuclear program, now top priority, US. Page 16. Category, international relations, West Asia global economy. Summary. The US administration signaled that its immediate priority in the Iran conflict has shifted from Iran's nuclear program to reducing gasoline prices and restoring oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. Vice President J.D. Vance stated that keeping oil and gas prices low is now the primary objective, while Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced that new economic sanctions on Iran are imminent. The article highlights the strategic importance of the Strait of Hormuz, which remains one of the world's most critical energy choke points. Key highlights. US prioritizing oil price stability. Strait of Hormuz has become the central strategic issue. New economic sanctions on Iran expected. Global energy security concerns intensified. West Asian conflict affecting international oil markets.
Please go through this article. This is very important one. And do make notes on important points. Next important article of this page, or this one. To listen the summary and key highlights of this article.
Israel's Katz calls for police to replace military in handling West Bank settlers. Page 16 Category International Relations West Asia. Summary. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz proposed transferring law enforcement powers over Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank from the military to the police. Analysts view the move as a step that could strengthen Israeli civilian control over settlements, with implications for the legal and political status of the occupied territory. The proposal comes amid tensions between settlers and Palestinian residents. Key highlights. Proposal concerns West Bank settlements. Could strengthen Israeli civilian administrative control. Important for the Israel-Palestine issue. Linked to settlement governance and security. Significant geopolitical implications.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Please go through this article once. Now we move on to next important article of this page. How's this one? Do listen the summary and key highlights.
Russia seeks answers from US about help for Ukraine, Lavrov. Page 16 Category International Relations Russia-Ukraine War. Summary. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused the United States of being deeply involved in Ukrainian attacks on Russian territory through intelligence support. Russia has formally sought clarification from the US regarding alleged assistance for strikes deep inside Russian territory. The development reflects continuing escalation and strategic confrontation between Russia and Western countries. Key highlights. Russia alleges US intelligence support for Ukraine. Diplomatic communication sent to Washington. Highlights escalation in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Reflects broader NATO-Russia tensions. Important great power competition issue. Exam relevant.
This is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Please go through this article once. The next important article of this page was this one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights.
UAE condemns attack on ADNOC vessels transiting Strait of Hormuz. Page 16. In brief, category International Relations Energy Security. Summary. The United Arab Emirates accused Iran of attacking vessels affiliated with the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC, while they were transiting the Strait of Hormuz. The incident adds to rising tensions in the Persian Gulf and underscores the vulnerability of global energy supply routes. Key highlights. UAE blamed Iran for attacks on ADNOC-linked vessels. Incident occurred in the Strait of Hormuz. Important global energy transit route. Escalates Gulf security tensions. Relevant for maritime security. Exam relevance, UPSC.
This is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. This one. Now do listen the summary of this article.
Italian NATO fighter jet shoots down drone in Latvian airspace. Page 16. In brief, category International Relations Defense. Summary. An Italian fighter jet operating under a NATO mission shot down a drone of unknown origin that entered Latvian airspace. The incident occurred amid heightened security concerns related to the Russia-Ukraine conflict and highlights NATO's Baltic air policing and collective security responsibilities. Key highlights: NATO aircraft intercepted a drone in Latvia. Reflects heightened Baltic security concerns. Linked to the Russia-Ukraine conflict environment. Demonstrates NATO air policing operations. Important defense and alliance security development.
And this is what about this article. Please do go through this article once. And next important article of this page, or this one. Now to listen the summary and key highlights.
N. Korea warns of new deterrent ahead of South Korea U.S drills. Page 16. In brief, category International Relations East Asia Security. Summary. North Korea warned that it could respond with a new level of deterrent ahead of the annual South Korea U.S joint military exercises. The warning reflects continuing tensions on the Korean peninsula and North Korea's emphasis on military deterrence following its growing strategic cooperation with Russia. Key highlights: warning issued before South Korea U.S military exercises. North Korea threatened enhanced deterrent measures. Reflects persistent Korean peninsula tensions. Connected to regional military dynamics. Important Indo-Pacific security issue.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Before this, those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Yeah, these are the only important articles from this page. Now we move on to next page. That is Weekend Sports, page number 17. The first important article of this page was this one. Please go through this article and listen the summary and key highlights of it.
How Indian badminton grew up between Hyderabad and Delhi. Page 17. Category Sports Governance Public Policy. Summary. The article traces the transformation of Indian badminton between the 2009 BWF World Championships in Hyderabad and the 2026 edition in Delhi. It explains how the sport evolved from limited funding, weak infrastructure, and a handful of elite players into a strong international system producing champions across multiple disciplines. The article highlights the contributions of P. Gopi Chand, Saina Nehwal, P.V. Sindhu, H.S. Pranoy, and the Badminton Association of India, by institutional support through TOPS, Olympic Gold Quest, OGQ, academies, sponsorships, and expanded domestic tournaments played a major role in this transformation. Key highlights: 2009 Hyderabad World Championships became a turning point for Indian badminton. Saina Nehwal's 2012 Olympic bronze significantly improved funding and corporate support. P.V. Sindhu won India's first BWF World Championship gold in 2019. India has won 14 BWF World Championship medals since 2009. BAI now conducts 32 tournaments annually, compared to only 4-5 tournaments earlier.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Before this, those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Next important article. Yeah, this was the only important article from this page. Now we move on to next important article of next page, that is Weekend Sports, page number 18. The first important article of this page was this one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights of this article now.
Wimbledon is magical, but cricket is always going to be my home. Interview with Isa Guha. Page 18. Category: Sports, Women's Empowerment, Sports Governance. Summary. Former England cricketer and commentator Isa Guha discusses the growth of women's cricket, the expansion of opportunities for female athletes and broadcasters, and the importance of inclusion in sports. She highlights how women's cricket has evolved from being secondary to men's cricket to having dedicated platforms and professional leagues. Guha also explains her work through Take Her Lead, a charitable initiative launched in 2022 to improve equity, diversity, and participation of women and girls in cricket, particularly addressing the underrepresentation of South Asian girls in professional cricket. Key highlights: Isa Guha was part of England's 2009 Women's World Cup winning team. Founded Take Her Lead, 2022, to promote equity and inclusion in cricket. Focus on increasing participation of women and girls in sports. Addresses South Asian underrepresentation in professional cricket. Highlights the expansion of women's cricket and sports broadcasting opportunities.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next page. This was an important article from this page. Now page number 19, sports section. The first important article of this page was this one. This one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights.
India hopes to revive WTC fortunes on Lankan shores. Page 19. Category: Sports, International Cricket. Summary. The article previews the India-Sri Lanka Test Series in Gale, highlighting its importance in the ICC World Test Championship (WTC) standings. India is currently placed 5th and Sri Lanka 6th, making the series significant for qualification to the WTC final. The report discusses India's expected team combination, the importance of spin bowling in Gale conditions, and the role of experienced players such as KL Rahul, Ravindra Jadeja, and Kuldeep Yadav. It also notes that this is India's 600th Test match, while Gale is hosting its 50th Test. Key highlights: The series is important for WTC qualification. India's 600th Test match is being played at Gale. Gale is hosting its 50th Test match. India currently stands 5th and Sri Lanka 6th in the WTC standings. Spin-friendly conditions are expected to play a major role.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Please go through this one. This is very important article. Before this, those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. We move on to next important article of this page. And this was the only important article from this page. Now we move on to page number 20, sports section again. The first important article was this one. This one. Please go through this one. Now listen the summary and key highlights.
Pragnananda bounces back, crushes Van Forest. Page 20. Category: Sports, International Chess. Summary. Indian Grandmaster R. Pragnananda defeated Dutch Grandmaster Jordan van Foreest in the fourth round of the Sankalp Cup in St. Louis, USA. The victory was the only decisive result of the round and moved Pragnananda into joint second place with 2.5 points, while Wesley So remained the sole leader with 3 points. The performance is significant for Grand Chess Tour qualification and India's growing presence in elite international chess. Key highlights: Pragnananda defeated Jordan van Foreest. Moved into joint second place, 2.5 points. Wesley So leads the tournament with 3 points. Important event, Sankalp Cup, Grand Chess Tour. Strengthens India's position in international chess.
And this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Now this one. Please do listen the summary and key highlights.
TNPL player comes under the scanner of Anti-Corruption Unit. Page 20 category, Sports Governance Integrity in Sports. Summary. A player in the Tamil Nadu Premier League, TNPL, came under investigation by the BCCI Anti-Corruption Unit, ACU, after being found in possession of a mobile phone inside the Restricted Players and Match Officials Area, PMOA, during a match. Under anti-corruption regulations, players are prohibited from carrying communication devices in restricted zones. The Tamil Nadu Cricket Association, TNCA, has initiated an inquiry and instructed the concerned franchise not to select the player until the investigation is completed. The incident highlights the mechanisms used to prevent match fixing, betting-related communication, and corruption in domestic cricket. Key highlights: investigation by the BCCI Anti-Corruption Unit. Mobile phone found inside the PMOA. Players are prohibited from carrying communication devices. TNCA has initiated disciplinary proceedings. Important case of sports integrity and anti-corruption enforcement.
Yeah, please go through this article. This is very important one. And do make notes on important things which are important for your exam. Now we move on to next important article of this page. I think this one. Please listen the summary and key highlights of it.
Churchill set for ISL entry after acquiring JFC's stake from Tata Steel. Page 20, snapshots, category, Sports Governance Football Administration. Summary. Churchill Brothers is set to participate in the Indian Super League, ISL, 2026-27 season after acquiring Jamshedpur FC's sporting license and stake from Tata Steel. The transfer includes players and coaching staff and will be completed by 31st August 2026. The development is important because it reflects ownership restructuring, league governance, and institutional arrangements in Indian football. Key highlights. Churchill brothers likely to enter ISL 2026-27. Tata Steel transferred Jamshedpur FC's sporting license. Player and coaching contracts transferred. Ownership transition to be completed by 31st August 2026. Significant development in Indian football governance.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Please go through this article. I think these are the only important articles from this page. Now we move on to next page number 21, sports section again. The first important article was this one. This one, to listen the summary and key highlights. Of this article.
Guarded optimism as India takes on Wales in opener. Page 21 category, Sports International Hockey. Summary. The article previews India's campaign in the Hockey World Cup, which is being co-hosted by the Netherlands and Belgium. India begins its campaign against Wales and is aiming to end a 51-year title drought, with its only World Cup triumph coming in 1975. The report notes India's decline to world number 8 concerns over defensive consistency after the retirement of PR Srijesh, and the importance of a strong start under the tournament's new format. Key highlights. India opens against Wales. Tournament co-hosted by the Netherlands and Belgium. India's only World Cup title came in 1975. Current world ranking, number 8. New tournament format makes early matches crucial.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Please go through this article once. Next important article was this one. Now do listen the summary and key highlights of this article.
WTA Chennai Open from November 2nd to 8. Page 21 category, Sports Governance International Tennis. Summary. The WTA 250 Chennai Open will be held from November to 8, with support from the Government of Tamil Nadu and the Tamil Nadu Tennis Association. The tournament will feature electronic line calling technology on all courts for the first time, and organizers are attempting to attract top 50 international players. The article also mentions efforts to bring back the ATP 250 Mains tournament to Tamil Nadu. Key highlights. WTA 250 Chennai Open scheduled for November to 8. Tamil Nadu government provided 10 rupees crore support. Electronic line calling technology on all courts. Efforts underway to attract top 50 players. Proposal to revive the ATP 250 event in Tamil Nadu.
And this is what about this article. Please go to this one. Now we move on to next important article of this page. Now this one. Now do listen key summary and key highlights.
Tanzid's maiden century puts Bangladesh in command. Page 21 category, Sports International Cricket. Summary. Bangladesh opener Tanzid Hassan scored his maiden test century, 101, against Australia in Darwin, helping Bangladesh reach 3,516 and take a substantial first innings lead. The innings was significant because it came in Bangladesh's first test on Australian soil since 2003 and placed the visitors in a commanding position against the top-ranked Australian team. Key highlights: Tanzid Hassan scored his first test century, 101. Bangladesh reached 3516. Took a 153-run first innings lead. First Bangladesh test in Australia since 2003. Major performance against the top-ranked test side.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Now we move on to next important article. Those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. And I think these are the only important articles from this page. Now move on to next page. The first important article of this page, sports section, was this one. Those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. Now we'll see the summary and key highlights of this article.
Reiterates the importance of prize money for athletes. Page 22 category, Sports Governance International Sports Policy. Summary. World Athletics President Sebastian Coe defended the introduction of Olympic prize money for athletics gold medalists, arguing that financial security is an essential part of athlete welfare. World Athletics became the first international sports federation to announce prize money for Olympic champions at the 2024 Paris Olympics, awarding $50,000 to each gold medalist. The move faced opposition from the International Olympic Committee, IOC, and several other sports federations, which argued that it challenged traditional Olympic principles. Coe maintained that athlete welfare includes physical, mental, and financial well-being, and announced that the new World Athletics Ultimate Championships will feature a $10 million prize pool, with financial rewards for all participants. Key highlights: $50,000 prize money introduced for athletics gold medalists at the 2024 Paris Olympics. World Athletics became the first international federation to introduce Olympic prize money. The IOC announced a $10,000 Olympian grant for eligible athletes. World Athletics Ultimate Championships will debut in Budapest with a $10 million prize pool. Financial welfare highlighted as a core component of athlete welfare.
Yeah, this is what about this article. Yeah, with this we end all the important articles from today's newspaper, The Hindu. We have seen the summary and key highlights of all the articles. Those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe and hit the like button. With this, we end the live session of today's session. Thank you. See you in the next